Thank you, Alicia. And that was called The Still, which is a good way to introduce being in our shared space together. So now is the time to settle in, maybe turn off your cell phones or any other noise makers you might have so we can relax and share this time together. A few opening announcements. Thank you those who are online for staying home if you didn't feel well because it's cold and flu season. It seems like that's always going on, so just know that we stream live, so you never have to miss seeing your friends. You might not be able to give them a hug, but they'll appreciate that as well. Exits, we have the front door you came in, down that hall. Behind you by the sliding glass door, there's a gate outside. You'll also see an exit sign behind me, so in the event we have to leave in a hurry, I will open this door and keep you from tripping over all the cords that are there. So probably that won't happen. And other than that, I think we're ready. Am I missing something? My computer died on me this morning. My mouse stopped mousing, so I couldn't finish my script and print it out. So here we are. Welcome to the University Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. And now we're going to hear from our committee chairs if they have anything that we need to know about the life of this church before we start our service.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On March 17th will be the men's group.
Oh.
And it will be in honor of St. Patrick's Day.
Uh-oh.
We will not have any green beer. No. We will not have any green cake because that was bad for me many years ago. But anyway, if you'd like to bring something, you men, if you'd like to wear your tarletans and your little skirts, you can. But that's Scottish, isn't it? Oh, well, anyway. Yeah. Okay, all right, that sounds good. So March 17th, 6:30, be here and bring whatever you'd like.
Janet with programs. So not this Sunday, but next Sunday after the service, we're having our next meeting of our discussion group, New Inquiring Minds. And the topic will be patient-centered healthcare, with a special focus on overtreatment and overdiagnosis and overtreatment. And Jill Vita is going to be helping us out, giving an expert perspective. And also, just because I'm going to be away a couple of weeks, I'm going to announce the next one too. So our next meeting after that one is going to be on, I think, April 5th, the first Sunday in April, before the service at 9 a.m. And the topic is going to be the climate crisis. And hopefully we can find a perspective that's not too depressing. But anyway, and also our next meeting after the service is not going to be in the library, it's going to be in the back RE building. For the old timers, this is where our Inquiring Minds used to meet. But anyway, follow the corridor to the back building and we'll be in there. Thank you.
Jill Vita for Women's Group. Thank you, Rachel, for bringing these beautiful, these beautiful little pressed glass flowers for windows. It was beautiful. We had a great time. Next month, we're thinking about an outing that Ann Packham told me about. So I'll give you more details about it. And also, I have 24 eggs on sale for SAC.
Melanie for the finance team. Just a couple of things. So on Thursday, we emailed almost everybody. There's a couple people that didn't have email addresses, so I have hard copies for them. Through February 28th, your pledges and contributions. So that's July 1 through February 28th. Just so you have that information, know where you are, you stand with your pledge, and also make sure they're accurate, because once in a while, things don't get entered like they're supposed to be, because we're human. And then secondly, I know you all are on pins and needles about the Love Letters fundraiser. We are still putting that information together. If anybody has any receipts that they need reimbursement for, or any expenses they need reimbursement for, please submit your receipts to us so we can reimburse you timely. And so we do expect to have the final numbers by mid-April. So just be patient with us. And if, as always, if you have any questions or anything, just reach out.
Hi, Lori Hospitality. We have more opportunities to help serve coffee, be a barista. The sign-up sheet will be on the counter for anyone who would like to have that opportunity.
Can we have the next slide, please?
Oh.
Yep, no, not that one, the other one, the other next slide. Okay, we didn't coordinate, sorry about that. Reverend Kathy, you have a chance today to make my dreams come true by scanning this QR code and signing up for one of 7 different options of workshops. These are to help determine what's next in this congregation. They're not decision-making, but they're stirring it up and thinking, and we really want everyone's perspective. So please take a moment to scan that, or you can find the link in Notable News. Now the other slide.
Yay, look at that beautiful slide. Colleen does such a good job. Our auction is coming up this month. March is the month that I need all items to come in so that they can go on the website in time, because April 27th is our date. Again, we'll have wonderful food and entertainment and good times. And I think I mentioned that Chloe is going to be our auctioneer. So that's pretty exciting. We're going to have a wonderful time. Sarah and I are putting together all the stuff on the online. If you've already donated online, thank you. Those of you who are still thinking about it, the forms are over there on the table. You can either donate something individually, or you can go to your favorite business and get them to donate. It's going to be a wonderful time, but it takes all of us to make it successful. And if you have any questions, please call me or see me after church today.
Good morning, Marianne for Pastoral Care. Thank you for everyone who signed up. We really appreciate that. And thank you, Colleen, for putting us now on the website. So we have a drop down where you can sign up to be a volunteer, or if you need services, the link is there for Pastoral Care. Reverend Kathy is conducting a workshop today at noon in the back on caring for each other. It's open to everyone. We encourage you to come. It's how do you have difficult conversations? How do you keep confidentiality? What are some things that are really important? So we hope to see you 12 o'clock. We do have light snacks in the back.
Hey guys, Derek, Facilities and Grounds. Spring has sprung. My eyes know it. You might want to check out the Memorial Garden, because we had some little bit of volunteer help, some new planning. It looks pretty good. And we did take the donations we got for the new memorial plaque, and we put the new memorial plaque up. So,
Cool.
Making progress.
Yeah.
Making progress.
All right, everybody outside after service. And from the program team, next week, we will have the educational director from the Holocaust Memorial Resource and Education Center coming to share with us about how to be an upstander, speaking up and out, de-escalating. That they do a really good education program. It's been about 6 years. I think we had them come in 2017. So it's time again. And if you have youth, friends, you know, it's a big important thing in our schools and out in the public. So think about that for next Sunday. And thank you all for sharing your energy and excitement about the activities of this church. My opening words this morning are from the Reverend Kathleen McTeague, who is the leader of the U.S. UU Service Committee that does work in all areas of the world. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment, until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope, is hallowed by our presence together. Let us sing together our opening song, and Janet will lead us.
This is hymn number 112 in your gray hymnal. Many of us know this, so sing out. Please stand as you're willing and able. Do you hear, oh my friend, in the place where you stand, through the sky, through the land? Do you hear, in the heights on the plain, in the vale on the main, in the sun and the rain? Do you hear, through the roar, through the rush, through the throng, through the crush? Do you hear in the hush of your soul, hear the cry fearward still, hear the heart's call to win, hear a sigh startling thrill in your soul, From the place where you stand to the outermost strand, do you hear, oh my friend? Do you hear, all the dreams, all the days, all the sighs, all the prayers, they are mine, they are theirs. Do you hear,
Truly beautiful words written by Emily Thorne, who was a UU religious educator for many years. And I've always said, if you don't know the tune, at least enjoy the words, because they're always really good. Our chalice lighter this morning is Jo. And she is 5. Oh, there you are. And hold on just a second. I cleaned up under here and forgot to leave out a candle. Jo, her pronouns are she, her, and she is very happy because her grandmother is here.
Can you repeat it into the mic, Martha?
Oh.
Thank you.
Jo is 5 years old. Her pronouns are she and her, and she's very happy that her grandmother is here with her. Yay. Please join me as we say the words on the screen. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And the affirmation of this fellowship. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. We're going to take a brief moment now to say hello to the people next to you, because that's important. Is there anyone you don't know? Say hello. That was my cue, and I missed it again. What happened there? All right. Thank you, everyone. I hope that everyone here who is a visitor or a guest was well greeted, and we're very happy that you're here with us this morning. Let's take a moment to wave to all our friends online. We have members and guests and people we don't know, and thank you for being here as well. We are an eclectic congregation. I think that's the word I've settled on. We have a variety of beliefs, a variety of personalities, a variety of backgrounds, and we have a variety of offerings every Sunday with different speakers from different areas of academia, religion, social justice, and just good people that have a message to share. So I suggest you visit more than once and get to know us a little bit, and I think you might just find a home, like most of us did. So thank you. The next element of our service is our sharing of joys and concerns, things that are impactful in your lives, that bring you great joy or great sorrow, without including politics or the current climate. So, with that said, please come forward and share, because if we did that, we'd be here all day, possibly. So come forward and share as you're able. If you'd like me to bring the mic to you, please raise your hand. And remember that we do stream, so this will be out there forever.
Jump the gun there. Joey Cole here. I've had a very rough weekend for a lot of reasons, but that's not what I want to talk about. My husband, on Thursday, I think it was, they delivered his new motorized wheelchair. Saving my back enormous pain.
My joy is I play basketball.
Hi, David McElroy. On, was it Thursday? I think. Anyway, yes, Thursday. Thank you, Kathy, because Kathy and I have the same birthday. Kathy and I turned a certain age on, I don't know. Both of us turned a certain age on March the 6th. And I had my family with me, and we went out to An Hong and the dog park, yeah. And if you ever watch Chloe's videos, you'll see that my whole life is on there. Like, you'll come in and you'll see me in bed, and, they'll serve me, and I feel like a king, but not that one.
Hi, Chloe McElroy. I have two concerns. Alyssa and I have a friend named Amy in Seattle, and she's having she just had a baby in December, and her partner are trying to figure out living a new life with a baby, and it's putting some strain on them, so maybe just send them some love and ways of communicating well to parent, because I think that's what they're struggling with. And also, I just have a lot of stuff going on in my life. It's not something I want to discuss openly, but just some good vibes my way would be really great. It's just been kind of a stressful month for me.
Hi, Alyssa. I would like to echo Chloe's general call for good vibes. It's been a non-specifically rough month and a half. And a little more specifically, my dad had another health scare yesterday. He had some dizziness and ended up in the ER, so just good thoughts his way.
Hi, Marilyn Furmanek, and I wasn't able to be here last year. Yeah, we got the whole family. I wasn't able to be here last Sunday, so I just wanted to personally thank everyone who was able to come to the fundraiser. So many people chipped in, too many for me to thank, but no, I know what you did, and I'm thanking you. And we were just thrilled with the great turnout. A lot of people brought friends or family, and that really made the numbers come up. So good job, everyone.
So yesterday, Sophia has to get community hours. So we went yesterday and we cleared all this brush for a rescue called Save a Life Pet Rescue. They're opening up a new rescue here in Sanford. So, I'm a dog nut. So it was a nice day, and I got to use power tools, and I had a lot of fun.
My joy is that today, me and my mom go to a baby shower. When my sister had a birthday party.
Thank you.
I spoke last week about my sadness because of what's going on in the world. And as a result of that, I decided I'm going to start teaching introductory meditation courses again. I stopped when the pandemic started, and it's going to happen here on Saturday mornings from 9:30 to 11, beginning in 4 weeks. It'll be a 4-week series, and it will begin on the 12th of next month. It's not meant to take the place of the meditation group here at all. It's meant to supplement that and hopefully add richness to it. And invite your friends to come, too. It'd be a great way for people to understand what we're doing here, is to bring folks from outside who are interested in learning how to meditate. And I'm going to go off and lead a retreat this Saturday, so I won't be here next week. Well, I wish you well, folks.
Good morning, everyone. Michelle Flores. My joy is that we have another show coming up next weekend, and I'm very excited. It's all drag kings. Yes, it's in Orlando, about half an hour from here. So if you're interested, let me know.
It was awesome last year.
I got to stay home with Gaga Pat.
She got to stay home from school with her grandma.
Good morning, everyone. Miguel Rodriguez from Social Action Committee. Have a joy that Mary Ann Feldheim has accepted the Leadership Advisory Council role. That means that she's going to be our ambassador to the pledge, meeting with Dr. Joel Hunter and other organizations around Central Florida. And it is a group that helps de-escalate violence, announces if there are extremists around the area, so we know how to prepare for that. So, yeah, everybody, welcome Mary Ann to that position.
Let's take a moment of silence to honor those joys and concerns, both shared and still unspoken. Thank you. Reverend Kathy, would you like to entertain us today with Time for All Ages?
All right, so I'm a New England transplant. Anybody else? Midwest? Yeah, okay. So, you know, they think it's spring here. It's kind of confusing. I really don't know when it's spring except for the allergies. So I thought we'd have a little spring, a little real spring here. So each of you, when you arrived, should have received a little slip of paper telling your part in what's about to happen. If you don't have one, cheating's allowed. Look over your neighbor's shoulder. So I'm going to read a story, and you are going to do the sound effects. All right? So I'll just so that you can relax. Frogs and peepers, you don't chime in until after the pond, so it's toward the end, so you can relax for a few minutes, but go wild when the time comes. So every time you hear your character mentioned, please make it sound effect. It's called Spring Surprise. It wasn't a particularly hard spring that year, but it was long, dreary, and colorless. No wonder then that when the first winds of March blew warm breath across the land and the land began to green, the wild creatures on 4 feet and on the wing took notice. The first creature was the small brown mouse. Good. Small brown mouse sat back on her haunches and smelled the warm air. She knew what this meant. The green time was coming, and the first small shoots of grass, which tasted so good, would begin to show themselves. "Ah," sighed the small brown mouse. "Tender grass to nibble on and to line the nest for my babies." Small brown mouse was not the only creature to smell the air. The fuzzy-tailed squirrel scampered to and fro up and down the trees. He paused a moment to watch a sparrow and her mate work on the nest. Mrs. Sparrow wanted to line the nest with lots of soft lint and grass in a particular way. Mr. Sparrow was needing a little break. So he flew off to hide behind a daffodil, which was nodding in the breeze. Furry-tailed squirrel shook his tail and scampered off. He remembered a spot where he had hidden a particularly juicy horse chestnut. He hoped that little brown mouse had not found it. Overhead, nighthawks surveyed the land. His favorite tree was still there, and his neighbor, the fuzzy-tailed squirrel, was there too. He passed the winters far to the north, but was always glad to return home. The trees were fuzzy and green with baby leaves, and flowering trees were bright with petals. And over there, the daffodils were waving and nodding to him. The warm spring sun shone down on the land, upon the grass that glowed with green vigor, upon the little brown mouse as she was putting finishing touches on her nest, and upon the daffodils. The sun gave warmth to the wings of the nighthawk as he soared in the wind and beamed upon the sparrow family as they worked, a little more cooperatively this time. The sun beamed on the fuzzy-tailed squirrel as he scampered about, and even the pond was far below. Now, in the deep quiet of the pond where the water never quite froze, even in the midwinter, the warmth of the sun began to heat until suddenly the frogs popped out in the winter mud tub, and the tadpoles began to swim in the sun-warmed pond, and they dreamed of jumping high into the air and see the grass at the edge of the world, and the peepers joined the chorus, and the pond added music to the colors of the spring, and there in the musical, colorful world where the grass was green and the daffodils nodded in the breeze and the tadpoles dreamed and swam in the warm waters of the pond where the fuzzy-tailed squirrels scampered in the trees as the nighthawk settled into his tree, and the sun shone down on the little brown mouse and her babies, and the sparrow laid 4 eggs, and what had been the promise of spring began its fulfillment. Everyone now. Good job, you made me proud. That was fabulous. Did you enjoy that? That was fun. I saw the frogs. Thank you, Reverend Kathy. And now it's time for our interlude and offering. As you decide what you're willing or able to give this morning, know that 40% of our plate will be shared with the Orlando Center for Justice, who is gearing up to do even more work than they have been doing for the last few years. They help those who can't afford attorneys, our immigrant and migrant population, which are going to need their services even more. So dig deep if you can, and if not, volunteer. And our choir will be singing Sia Hamba. Thank you. Trade with you under protest. We are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching.
marching in the light of God. We are singing 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 in the light of God. We are singing, singing, we are singing, singing, we are singing in the light of God. We are singing, singing, we are singing, singing, we are singing in the light of God. We are dancing 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 in the light of God. We are dancing, dancing, we are dancing, dancing, we are dancing in the light of God. We are dancing, dancing, we are dancing, dancing, we are dancing in the light of God.
And now for our next musical number, let's sing our children out to go have fun with their own lessons and learning. We love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day. And now it's my pleasure to welcome up to the pulpit our consulting minister, Reverend Kathy Schmitz. That's all I'm going to say this morning. Thank you.
Good morning. We will start with something a little calmer now to settle in just a little. I invite you to join me in a spirit of meditation and reflection. This piece is called Emergence. Sometimes it arrives all at once, a great brightness bursting through the dawn. More often, it arrives quietly, a warm glow rising through the mist, a stirring, an awakening, a growing light, a seed sprouting, a bud blooming, a butterfly emerging, an idea forming, a glance between strangers. That's something you can't quite see out of the corner of your eye. Something as subtle as the way the Earth's axis aligns with the sun. Go inside. If you like, close your eyes and find the thing that is there waiting to happen. Create a picture in your mind. What does it feel like, this thing inside you waiting to become? Does it have a sound? Can you smell it? Is it heavy or light, big or small, strong or delicate? And how is it kept safe in that place inside you? Is it more like a seed or a bud or an egg or a cocoon? And what does it need to be nourished? What will help it grow? And what does it need to come forth, to emerge? Sunlight, water, a helping hand, fresh air, time, something more? And how will it come forth? Slowly or all at once? Quietly or with great fanfare? Or maybe you don't know just yet. All things happen in their time. Take a moment to provide gentle care for the something that is within you waiting to happen. As you are ready, come back to our gathering, back to this place, back to these people, and know that these people are here to support you, and you are here to support them as you each tend to the new and wonderful things that are waiting to happen within you. Blessed be, and amen. In 1837, in a sermon called On Justice and Conscience, Unitarian minister Theodore Parker said, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but a little way. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by experience of sight. I can only divine it by conscience. And from what I see, it bends toward justice." 40 years ago this month it's not 40 years ago, 60 years ago. Okay, I'm back. 60 years ago, on March 25th, 1965, when racial progress in America seemed unspeakably slow, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I know you are asking today, how long will it take? I come to you to say this afternoon, however difficult the moment, however frustrating the hour, it will not be long, because truth crushed to the earth will rise again. How long? Not long, because no lie can live forever. How long? Not long, because you shall reap what you sow. How long? Not long, because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice." And then Barack Obama, speaking on the 40th anniversary of King's death in a speech on April 4th, 2008, said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. But here's the thing. It does not bend on its own. It bends because each of us in our own way put our hand on the arc and bend it in the direction of justice, because we organize and we mobilize and we march and we vote. We parents were active in the community, we're active in our schools, and let us each do our part to bend that arc. Let's bend it toward justice. Let's bend it towards opportunity. Let's bend that arc toward prosperity for all. And if we can do that and march together as one nation and one people, then we won't just be keeping faith with Dr. King's dream, all that he lived for and died for. We'll be making real the words of the Hebrew prophet Amos that Dr. King invoked so often and said, "Let justice roll down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream." At this time, when the pace of change is not just slow, but seemingly in reverse, I thought we'd spend this morning considering our place in that long arc of the universe, a place I would suggest is not in the bleachers, but on the field. Whether we're talking about congregational life or public life, democracy is not a spectator sport. We've heard this from political leaders, from religious leaders, from inside our movement, and from outside our tradition. Democracy, to be successful, in fact, to survive, requires our participation, our active engagement, even when it is hard, especially when it is hard. Let's consider just one of the many struggles that have been part of our nation's history. After almost a century of protest and activism, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution granted American women the right to vote, a right known as women's suffrage. It was ratified and subsequently certified in 1920. Let's think about those numbers for just a moment. For those of us born after 1920, which I'm thinking is most of us, it seems like women have had the vote forever. After all, 105 years is a long time. But keep in mind, that is how long they had to agitate before the right was granted. I suspect it felt like forever. Depending where you are and where you stand, 100 years is either a blink of an eye or an eternity. Now, you may be interested to know that women here in Orlando were granted the right ever so slightly earlier, with land-owning women able to vote on a bond issue in May of 1919. The right to vote, critically important in its own right, is a symbol of something greater. It's a belief in human agency, that people have the ability to make their own decisions and to exercise their conscience. It means full participation in society and the ability to bring all of our gifts and talents to life. It's also about human freedom. Voting is not just political, it's theological. And it's been a part of our story since Unitarians first arrived in Central Florida. As far as we know, the first Unitarian gathering in Orlando happened in 1910. A transplant from Iowa was being visited by her former ministers and asked them to hold a service in their living room. That transplant was Carolyn Gore, after whom the fellowship hall at First Unitarian is named. The ministers were Eleanor Gordon and Mary Safford. I want to spend a moment on the Reverends Gordon and Safford because they are our spiritual ancestors. Eleanor and Mary were childhood friends and part of the Iowa Sisterhood. The Iowa Sisterhood was a group of pioneering women ministers serving and transforming the Unitarian side of our movement. They served in what we now call the Midwest, but was rather more frontier-like in those days, at least to the folks on the East Coast. And as a side note, when I say transforming, these women ministers were bringing the congregations that they founded and served a new ethic of care within the community. And it seems fitting that we invoke their names in this fellowship as you launch your new pastoral care program. And so I reiterate Mary Ann's invitation to join us in the library after worship for our workshop about caring for one another and how you can gain confidence and do so with joy. Now, Mary Safford would become an active in the women's suffrage movement here in Central Florida. She's quoted as saying, "To be a religious leader, one must strive rather to get heaven into people rather than people into heaven." For me, getting heaven into people means awakening in someone's heart and mind a vision of what heaven on earth could be, would be, allowing them a peek at the possibilities. Think for a moment about what is possible. What glimpse of heaven have you been privileged to see? Have you had a glimpse of what is possible? Because once we imagine it, this heaven on earth, we can begin to move toward it, to align our thoughts and actions, to be part of nudging it into being and helping it emerge. What do you imagine it would look like, sound like, if we had heaven here on earth? And what will you do? What can we do to bring it forth? The wonderful thing about religious community is that it can provide abundant ways to participate in the bringing forth of heaven on earth. Which brings us to Mary's childhood friend, Eleanor Gordon, who served as the first minister of First Unitarian. For its first 7 years, she nurtured spirits and tended the religious home that supported those who were out in the world, making the things happen. There's an interesting story about how it worked out that way, about why Eleanor became the minister and Mary was working in the community. In Reverend Gordon's summary of the early years of the church, we find the following account of on the evening of which the congregation, originally called Unity Church, was formed in February of 1912. The official records of this business are in the first volume of the church's records, but the informal discussion is not there. The meeting was anything but harmonious. Ms. Stafford was opposed to any plan that meant aid from the American Unitarian Association. Side note, they were patriarchy. Continuing from Reverend Gordon, I claimed that was what the AUA was for and that a Unitarian church was impossible on any other basis. Reverend Gordon continues, it was the personal element that made the situation difficult. As Miss Safford was a resident of Orlando and I was not, in the natural order of things, she would have been the leader of the new movement. As she refused outside aid, it was evident that there was nothing and would be nothing for her to lead. After a tense and very unpleasant hour, on motion of Mr. Stage, it was voted that I should be invited to return the next year as a minister of the newly organized church. End quote. On the evening that the first Unitarian congregation in Orlando was founded, good people who had dedicated their lives to the spread of liberal religion, people who loved each other, disagreed. And as unpleasant an hour as it was, they nevertheless persevered, and because they persevered, we are here today. Why? Because they were not gathering that evening to form a comfy little club where everyone was nice and happy all the time. They were down for the hard work. And because they were, First Unitarian was founded, and 80 years after that, this fellowship was founded. I love that there are 2 Unitarian Universalist congregations in Orlando, and I think how pleased the Reverends Gordon and Safford would be. In her history of their time in Orlando, Eleanor Gordon wrote, this is one of my favorite quotes, "Never for one moment did I lose faith in the ultimate success of Unity Church. Never for a moment did I question the belief that Orlando was destined to become one of the large cities of the South, and as such, it was important that a liberal religious center should be established here. No matter how hard the struggle, we must hold on. We never could have done this if at any time certain loyal men and women had lost faith." This is the legacy that we have inherited. And we know that a liberal religious presence and voice is still critical to a healthy community and a thriving city, state, and nation. This is the legacy that we have inherited. So the question before us is, how are we to honor that legacy? Unitarianism has been in Orlando for 115 years. This Unitarian Universalist Fellowship has existed for 32 years. Feel free to check my math. 33. What legacy will you leave to your spiritual descendants? Will you be good ancestors? What will this fellowship be like in 2057? 2057, that's double. What influence will our life-giving tradition have in Central Florida in 2145? When Mary and Eleanor were hanging out here, Orlando had dirt streets and a population of 4,000. While I doubt that Eleanor could truly imagine all that was going to inspire, she had a deep faith that it was possible. Now, if I were to predict 32 or 33 or 115 years in the future, I might say this. This congregation will be imperfect, just like it is today. Our world will fall short of our ideals, just like today. And importantly, a century from now, the need for liberal religion will be as great as ever. Because we are not perfect and never will be, we can't let that stop us. We don't get to pick the times we live in. We live in chaotic and unpredictable times. We could, I suppose, bury our heads in the sand. We can whine and complain. Sometimes that's worthy. Or we can heed the words of the wizard Gandalf in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Fellowship of the Ring. He's replying to Frodo. Frodo says, "I wish it need not have happened in my time." "So do I," says Gandalf. "And so do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time we are given." What will you do with the time you are given? How will you participate in what is emerging in your life, in this congregation, in the world? One of the many things I love about our liberal tradition is that we adapt to change. When new knowledge becomes available, we incorporate it. When the world changes, we transform, not by sacrificing our values, but by considering how our values speak to the new things that have emerged. I think of the way that we in our congregations care for our children. It's one of the ways we demonstrate our appreciation for the unfolding nature of the universe. We teach our children approaches to life rather than trying to give them all the answers, because we don't have all the answers. In the words of Kahil Garan in Your Children from the Prophet, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but they are not from you. And though they are with you, they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. As a liberal faith, we have no dogma. We know that while our core values won't change, the way they manifest in the world will. So we invite our children to develop skills and ways of being that will serve them well in the world we cannot visit. Just as Eleanor and Mary couldn't imagine our world, we cannot imagine the world to come. But we do not have to know all the answers. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. One last story about the complexities and chaos of the world, because sometimes that makes us think we can do nothing, and yet the world has always been chaotic and complex. I got some perspective on this a while back. I had the privilege of traveling to Italy, and it prompted some thoughts on the way things change and don't. I loved listening to the guides lift up the virtues of the 3 cities that we visited. We visited Venice, where for 1,000 years the leaders came from among the people. And yet, for 6 months of the year, the people wore masks for fear of being turned into the authorities by neighbors and friends. We visited Florence, the birthplace of the Renaissance, where great artists were nurtured and supported by wealthy people with some really questionable ethics and political agendas. I asked an AI whether the Medici family was good, and it said, we should say they're influential. We visited Rome, home to a great civilization in which fully 1/3 of the people were slaves. Human history and human community have been and are complicated. And yet, I do believe that in the long picture, we continue to make progress. That is, I believe we continue to move toward justice and peace. It's hard to see sometimes, especially in times of great backlash, when those uncomfortable with emerging hope and love panic and try to pull us back into our shells underground before this new thing happened, to what is perceived to be a more comfortable time that is yet gone and can never be again. For life goes not backwards, nor tarries with yesterday, says Gabran. And so it is time to remember that the arc is long and it needs our help. It is the right time for us to focus on our values, values of love, justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. Now is the time for us to do our part to support one another, this fellowship, and the world, and to try to bring a little heaven into people. And Miguel, could I have the slide? Because, you know, I really want you to fulfill my dreams. So bring your dreams and visions, your passions and commitments to the conversations that will be taking place over the next 2 months. Help to ensure that this congregation and the gifts that it brings to the world thrive. Not just survive, but thrive for years, decades, and centuries to come. May it be so. Well, thank you, Reverend Kathy. Thank you. Let's extinguish our chalice. Warmth of commitment, the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts till we are together again. Our closing music today is I've got Peace Like a River, and Anne will lead us with this one.
Please rise as you're willing and able and open your hymnals if you'd like to follow along with the music to number 100. Are we doing all verses? I can't remember. All 4 verses? Three verses. First 3. Okay. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. Give it some gusto. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul.
Well, that was pretty fabulous. I think we need to keep that on our roster of songs more often. We know that one. My closing words today are from our Universalist minister, John Murray, from our Singing the Living Tradition hymnal. Lots of good stuff in there. Go out into the highways and byways. Give the people something of your new vision. You may possess a small light, but uncover it, let it shine. Use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of all people. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Preach of kindness and everlasting love. May it be so. Thank you. All right, grab some coffee, meet your new neighbor. Oh, the postlude, I'm sorry. That's what happens when you don't get to print your script. And here's Alicia. That was beautiful, and thank you. I'm sorry I almost forgot. It's wonderful to have that moment for reflection at the end of service. So now, meet your neighbor, have some coffee and tea, and join us at 12 for a very fun time.